A sun-splashed September afternoon here in Las Vegas, Nevada, as we are happy to bring you coverage of the inaugural Las Vegas Pickleball Open here at the Plaza Hotel and Casino at 1 Main Street, Las Vegas. Hey everybody, welcome to Las Vegas. Dave Benz hanging out with Melissa McCurley and Mark Renneson. And guys, we're excited to be here and be a part of this tournament as pickleball continues to grow and yet another major tournament added to the schedule.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a great week. We started with an amateur event the first part of the week and then are going on with the pros today.
Mark, you've seen this sport really grow, and to see a tournament like this with a large purse for the pros, it really is impressive.
What a thrill. This is one of the richest pickleball tournaments in the sport right now. And so to come to such a beautiful place in Las Vegas here at the Plaza Hotel is a real treat for spectators and players.
Yeah, the purse of $25,000 vaults it right to the top of pickleball tournaments that are being played around the country right now. Over 300 players, not just from the United States, but 4 countries represented in this tournament here. We are excited to get the coverage underway. Let's play some pickleball here in Sin City. Don't go anywhere. Live action coming your way next. And we are just about set to get underway. This will be our second televised match of the tournament. And we will be with you until 6 p.m. Pacific time tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, here on our live stream on Facebook. And then tomorrow, more coverage as well here from the pool deck of the Plaza Hotel and Casino, right across the street from famous Fremont Street here in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's at the far end of Fremont Street, right about where you get on for the zip lining that, Melissa, you'll be doing later tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and can't wait. Something I've always wanted to do coming up here. I'm going to do the Superman style, so I'll be flying across.
I'm going to be doing it about an hour and a half after you.
I'll have to stay around and watch.
That should
and I'll be down on the ground watching you guys, cheering you on.
Yeah, you already said you're out on that. Tyler Loong opens the match with the serve, and the return by Ben Johns is out of bounds. So Loong and Dawson draw first blood here. The early 1-0 advantage. And then into the nets. So we will change sides on the serve. Again, glad to have you with us here on this Facebook live stream.
Ooh, there's our first around the post
How
shot.
How about that shot? Ben Johns, that was impressive.
Yeah, and we had one of our viewers wondering if the court here was large enough to do an around the post. That just shows it certainly is.
So a couple interesting things to notice already. So it looks like Johns and Yates are going with the power game early on. I'd also noticed that Loong and Dawson seem to be switching. Let's watch what they do after this return of serve, and look at that, they switched. So this is different from just a standard stacking scenario. By switching, that's a good point, by switching in the middle of the point or not, it makes Yates and Johns wonder about what kind of setup they're going to have on the other side of the net. So we're seeing more and more of this, this sort of dynamic switching in the middle of the point. Let's see on the return of serve if they do it again here.
Johns with that winner.
There's another switch.
But unable to come up with that one is Johns. And now the serve will switch sides. So 1-2-1 our score here in game 1 of this semifinal. Yates and Johns have been playing pickleball together in various forms for quite a long time. They're very good friends, have spent a lot of time together training in Florida, even though Johns lives in Laytonsville, Maryland.
Yep, he goes to college there at the University of Maryland.
Kyle Yates, meantime, has been on and off a student at the University of Florida, but he's now focusing more on his pickleball. Remains a few credits short of getting his degree as a Gator.
We see some unique technique out here. You'll see that Callan Dawson really holds high up on the paddle of his, or on the handle of his pickleball paddle, almost table tennis style. The other players are more conventional, holding at the bottom of the handle grip. This is Loong's favorite shot, that backhand heavy backspin dink that he likes to play.
Johns into the net now will take over the serve. You know, Mark, I want to go back to what you just said. You make mention about different styles for holding the paddle, and as someone who is a coach at the highest levels of this sport, when you see someone that holds the paddle a little different, is your tendency to try and correct that to a more traditional form, or to work with what they have, with what's working for them?
You know what? As far as I'm concerned, good technique has 3 components. It's safe, meaning you can use it without putting yourself at risk. It's effective, meaning you can do what you want with the ball, and you can build on it over time. So as you improve as a player, that technique will hold up. And as far as I'm concerned, if your technique does all 3 of those things, stick with what works.
5-1-2 as Yates and Johns now building a little bit of a gap here in game 1.
So
What
there's
a return.
Wow, that was quite the poach there by Ben Johns. That wasn't an easy shot to make, but wow, he made it look easy.
I love watching this kind of play like we're seeing from Johns and Yates, especially when people speak negatively about using speed, right? The power game. They say, oh, pickleball is not supposed to be played that way. That's not how the pros do it. You don't have to know much about pickleball when you watch these guys to know that it's not all about the soft game.
How about Johns? Exactly what you're talking about right there. The power game just sticking with it, and finally gets the shot knocked out of bounds on the return. Look at that action.
Yeah, if you think that you can overpower your opponents and either cause an error or something you can put away, then why wouldn't you hit hard?
Oh, a little too cute there by Yates. He goes between the legs and then has it put right back at him.
Yeah, and all he could do was smile on that one. So Kyle is quite the trickster, that's for sure. We've seen him make some amazing shots with that trick shot there. Not this time.
A lot easier to do that when you've got a 7-1 advantage.
Yeah, definitely so. He can play a lot more relaxed, right?
So we see that both Yates and Johns, when they hit forehand dinks, they use quite a bit of topspin on it.
Nice return there by Dawson.
Helps to keep that ball a little bit, to dip that ball a little bit lower so it's less attackable by their opponents.
2-7-1 as Loong and Dawson try to close the gap here. And now they go to the dink game, and Kyle Yates gets the friendly bounce off the net.
Yeah, and some of the viewers might be interested in knowing this is a Swift net that is here in play at Championship Court here in Las Vegas. This is a brand new championship court. It was just finished and completed on Monday.
It's one of 13 courts here on the pool deck at the Plaza Hotel and Casino, and they did a fabulous job with all the courts here in downtown Las Vegas. Nice return there by Loong.
Yeah, he jumped around that kitchen into the air and put it away. Nice move by Tyler.
By the way, Melissa, we should make mention of the fact that even if Loong and Dawson fall here in this match, which clearly we're in game 1, they've got plenty of time to come back. They can come back no matter who loses actually in this match. They can still come back. There is a loser's bracket. It is double elimination, the format here in Las Vegas, as Johns puts it into the net.
Yeah, that's right, Dave. So whoever loses this match would drop down into the losers, or the opportunity bracket, as I like to call it. And the worst they could do is bronze. And the winner then of that match coming out of the losers or opportunity bracket could get a chance to come and play for the gold. So even if Tyler and Callan weren't to win this match, and as you said, we have a long way to go, they still could come all the way back.
Timeout taken here on Championship Court. We'll take a quick break as well. Back with more of Game 1 after this quick timeout. The Las Vegas Pickleball Open is brought to you by the Plaza Hotel and Casino, the place to be downtown, and by Miller Lite. And back here in Las Vegas, we continue on with game 1 of the men's semifinal in the Pro Division. And Tyler Loong with the serve.
Down 4-7 here in game one.
And now it'll move on to second server. Callan Dawson will handle the duties.
We spoke earlier about Callan's technique of holding further up on the handle. One of the things that does is it gives him a little more control of the paddle face, but there's a downside. He now has less reach. And so we saw a couple points ago when he reached into the kitchen, tried to put away a ball, he's just a little bit short. So like anything, there's a trade-off when you use that short handle technique.
And that return long, so make it 8-4-1 now.
Kyle is so good at that little inside-out flick down the line. Makes it look like the ball is going to be hit back cross-court, but instead surprises the person right in front of him. A little bit of help with the net there doesn't hurt either.
And how about the power he gets from out of that flick? Just a flick of the wrist and thing zooms off the paddle.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I've noticed about Kyle, I mean, Kyle's always been a great player, but over the last couple of years, he's really put on, I have to ask him how much weight he's put on, but he's put on a lot of muscle. Kyle's been putting in time in the gym for sure, and that helps in situations like that, where you can't use your whole body to hit the ball. You've just got to use smaller parts, like your wrist or your forearm, and Kyle's looking pretty fit out there.
So here we go, game point with Yates on the serve. And then Yates into the net. So the serve will switch sides. Loong and Dawson, you have to figure this will probably be their last stand here in game one. They need to make the most of this opportunity.
There's that spinny backhand that Loong likes to play.
Yeah, and for those of us just joining us, the ball being used here, the Las Vegas Open, the official ball is the Franklin X40. It's that bright green, making it much easier to see here as we're playing in the shadows, or shade, I should say, here in Las Vegas at the Plaza Hotel and Casino.
A helicopter flying directly overhead moments ago. You might have picked up the chopper sound.
Yeah, there is a Ellis Air Force Base, I believe it is, not too far away.
Figured you guys were going bungee jumping off a helicopter after you're done ziplining tonight.
I'm not getting that crazy. But Mark Renneson, this is your first ever trip to Las Vegas, and you went and walked down Fremont Street this morning. You have to go check it out at nighttime to really get the true Vegas effect.
That's what I hear. That's what I hear.
I'm not sure he's old enough to go.
This is game point right here, 10-4-1.
And there it is. So game one goes 11-5 in favor of Yates and Johns. Loong and Dawson with their backs against the wall will need to win game two, and we will have game two coming your way after this quick timeout here on this live stream of the inaugural Las Vegas Pickleball Open. The Las Vegas Pickleball Open is brought to you by the Plaza Hotel and Casino, the place to be downtown. Miller Lite and by Head. A beautiful look at the courts here at the Plaza Hotel and Casino. 13 in all, including the championship court. And there in the distance, you can see Fremont Street, which when you're there at night, it's amazing because you don't feel like you're outside, even though you are outside. The sights and sounds.
It has the largest LED cover in the world. And every hour on the hour, they have a tremendous LED light show with music. It's something pretty special to see. I'll just say the people watching is pretty special to see as well.
Oh, there's our second around the post shot.
Yeah, Tyler Loong saying right back at you. Ben Johns had one on the other side in the first game.
Ben Johns is asking the referee whether Tyler hit the net when he hit that ball on the follow-through, but the referee said she didn't hear anything. Tyler said he didn't hear anything, and that's a quick side out.
And Loong into the net on the unforced error.
So Melissa and Dave, we've got some stats from game number one. Unforced errors, Johns and Yates made 5, Dawson and Loong made 6. Winners was also pretty tight. Johns and Yates made 3 winners. to Loong and Dawson's 2.
Into the dink portion of this game now, but not for long. And Dawson hits it right at Yates and able to come up with a successful strategy in that exchange. 1-0-2.
So pretty tight there, Mark, on the stats, but yet the game result certainly didn't show that.
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? And one of the things we need to pay attention to, not every error is an unforced error, right? If someone hits a really great shot that, you know, wasn't quite a winner, wasn't a clean winner, but was a ball that, yeah, you can understand why they didn't get it back, that just gets marked as an error. So we're talking about here are those unforced errors. And what I love watching about players of this caliber is how few of those unforced errors you see.
And that would have been a perfect example of an error there on that return by Dawson as opposed to an unforced error.
Yeah, what we just saw from Ben there, missing that third shot, and you can see the look on his face. He knows he's got to make that shot, and I expect he is going to on the next one. But yeah, when your opponents hit a good shot, when you're on the run, when they get a high ball and they hit you in the body, that's an error, but it's not an unforced error.
Yeah, and Ben Johns there just had a let. We don't see too many of those, Mark, in pickleball, but it was a let where his serve hit the net, but it did then go beyond the kitchen line into the opponent's server side of their space, open court, and so he was able to take a second serve.
Well, watch Ben's serve. Watch how low it is, right? Because he hits his serve low and fast, and we're seeing that more and more from strong players, is using their serve not just to start the point, but to actually gain an advantage, to put the returners in a position where they can't hit the kind of quality return that they want.
So, Mark, then I'll just go ahead and ask you, because I've heard you talk about this before. So you do think there's something offensive about the serve, not necessarily just putting it in on the other side?
Absolutely. Look, there's no time in pickleball that you have more control when you're serving. You're standing still, you put the ball right where you want. If you just merely put the ball in play, you know, to me that's the equivalent of a baseball pitcher just tossing the ball gently to the batter and saying, okay, let's start. And so the serve is a chance, not necessarily to hit an unreturnable ball, but to gain an advantage, to force the returners to hit a return shorter than they'd like or to the person that they don't want, to do something to tip the scales in your favor.
1-3-2.
That's great perspective. Thank you.
This is why so many people want to fly Mark Renneson across the country to coach them.
That's right, Mark, with Third Shot Sports. Going all over,
Ooh.
helping us all be a better pickleball player.
Nice exchange there, ultimately won by Loong. Make it 2-3-2. And she just said 2-2-2, but I was going to say, taking a point away, it is 2-3-2.
Right, I thought
Kyle's not going to miss that one. That's a good shot.
Speaking of not missing one, that was a terrific shot by Kyle.
Yeah, so one of the things that people often think when they hit drops is that it has to land in the kitchen, but that's not good enough. That drop that we saw Tyler hit landed in the kitchen, but because it bounced up high enough, Kyle was able to hit as an offensive shot. So it's more important that that drop be low and force an upward hit, rather than worrying about exactly where it lands. Here's a nice backhand cross-court dinking rally. My money's on. Oh, there we go.
Great backhand there by Dawson right into Johns and handcuffed him, unable to return it.
I'm not sure Ben was expecting him to make that kind of move that quickly.
Yeah.
Some really nice defense there by Callan Dawson. Now Ben was ready that time.
Heck of a point. It ultimately ends with Ben Johns hitting it into the net. So this is a tight game 2 here in the best of 3 men's doubles semifinals.
Very tight. So Callan certainly battling there with Ben. No, and then Ben gets him back.
Yeah, so when you get into one of those dinking rallies, there's really 2 reasons you would change it and speed it up. Either because you get a ball that's slightly elevated that you can hit hard and still keep the ball in play, or because you think that your opponents are kind of expecting a slow ball and that you might catch them sleeping or a little bit off guard. And so that's what these players are looking for, is can they sort of lull their opponents into a sense that this is going to be another slow ball and surprise them with a fast one. It's tough to do against the pros like this.
Long return, and that's going to actually give Loong and Dawson their first lead of this match as they go up 4-3-2.
And one thing that I can see, Mark, that when all 4 players are at the kitchen line, all of them are doing a great job of keeping their paddle up. What would you share with us about the importance of your paddle placement when you're at the kitchen line?
Well, one of the things that separates pros from less skilled players is that they're never surprised when the ball comes fast. They're expecting fast balls. And when you're expecting a fast ball, you should also put your paddle in a position where the action's going to be. If that ball comes fast at you from your opponent, it's not coming down at your feet, unless, of course, it's a high ball. It's coming more around chest height like we're seeing here.
What a tremendous point we're seeing right now.
Those were quite some rallies there.
Yeah, and so the players have the paddle up where the action's going to be, sort of around waist height or just slightly higher. And that way, if that ball does come fast, the paddle's there, almost like a shield.
I wish we could track how many times the ball's crossed the net in this point, because this has been so far the best point we've seen this afternoon.
Absolutely. Very controlled and patience being shown by all the players. And the rallies, fantastic. Wow.
And finally, Yates gets it off the top of the net, and Loong unable to return it. A little bit of good fortune there for Yates and Johns to close out the best point we've seen here today.
Oh, it was excellent. That might be one of the best points I've seen all year. I mean, that was just excellent. Excellent volleying, excellent dinking.
It's interesting how many times I counted at least 4 in that one rally that Ben Johns used a two-handed backhand when he was playing his volleys. We're starting to see more and more of that, not just from the women, but from the guys as well, looking to get a little extra power on that backhand.
Oh.
And that was some nice effort there out of Loong on consecutive shots. So it'll go to 4-4-2.
Yeah, that was nice recognition there by Kyle to see that Callan was pulled in more toward the middle of the court, and he could quickly get a ball down the line there, making that difficult for Callan to return.
Yeah, we talked earlier about how going cross-court makes sense when you hit a slow ball, low net, long distance, make your opponent move. When you're hitting a fast ball, it's often a good idea to go down the line where your opponent's closer to you, meaning they'll have less time to react. So just like you saw here.
Ben Johns, that was an impressive return. Lands just in bounds.
Is that when players play those down the line attack shots, those fast balls, all things being equal, they're more often going to go down the line because their opponents will have less time to handle the ball.
7-4-2 now the score. Yates and Johns want no part of getting this to a third game. Loong and Dawson with other ideas. They'll take back the serve.
Yeah, we just had a question from Tim Hatzenbeller, who asked about, he noticed as well that Callan Dawson chokes up a little bit on the paddle. Because he's choked up, he essentially has created a shorter lever between his arm and his paddle. And that shorter lever is easier to manipulate. It's easier to control the paddle face.
However, what you gain there, as you mentioned, Mark, you lose in terms of reach.
You lose reach, and you also lose in terms of power, because while the shorter lever is more maneuverable, it's also less powerful than if he was holding down a bit further. So again, it's that trade-off.
Maybe we'll get another one of those marathon rallies out, but maybe not. So Kyle just got that ball up, and Loong was sitting there on it, really, wasn't he?
Yeah, Tyler says, I do not want another marathon rally. Thank you very much.
Tyler Loong out of Highland, Utah. And Callan Dawson out of Carlsbad, California puts it into the net and make it 8-4 in favor of Johns and Yates, 3 points away from moving on to the finals.
And Callan is the son of Steve Dawson, who we just saw on this court just before this match.
Also the son of Jennifer Dawson, who I'm told is here in Vegas, although she's not playing in the tournament this weekend. What a return there by Loong.
Which is part of the support crew this weekend. I see that Jordan Briones is watching. Jordan Briones, many of you know if you're a pickleball fan, he runs something called Primetime Pickleball. If you haven't seen it yet, be sure to check out Primetime Pickleball on YouTube. Lots of great videos, great graphics, really high production quality, and he's always out there with the other pros. So check over YouTube for Primetime Pickleball.
5-8 now as Loong and Dawson trying to hold on.
That was a great drop by Callan, being like so back on his heels with his backhand. Just shows you some of the athleticism that these players have.
Oh, great return there by Dawson, and the gap is closing.
Yes, it is. What at 6-8-1.
So interesting to note here, in this second game, Dawson and Loong have hit 11 third shot drops and 0 third shot drives. There's their 12th third shot drop. So they're playing what is sometimes considered more conventional style of pickleball. On the other hand, when we look at Ben Johns and Cal Yates, they have now hit an identical number. They've hit 8 third shot drops, 8 third shot drives. So a really different game style. You know, I see this being more the future of pickleball, is looking for those third shot drives. There's a drop from Ben.
So now we'll go to the second server as it remains 8-6-2 now.
Yeah, we've really seen some effective use in the last 2 matches of just flicking that ball right into the player's body there at the net.
So here we saw an example of the power that you give up when you hold it shorter like Callan is. He had 2 or 3 balls that he had high forehands, and typically you want that to be a put away. You want that to end the point, but the ball kept coming back.
Oh,
Yates
nice
able to
get.
catch up with it, yep.
Kyle really likes using this inside-out forehand dink. Forces him to move a lot more.
Well, it's a lot of movement to it as well, and if you get caught off looking at it, you can really get forced into a mistake.
Yeah, the reason he does it, we talked about trade-offs before. Yes, he has to move more if he wants to play a forehand from the left side, but it also means that he can generate more speed, and it gives him a better chance to either go cross-court or down the line. So a player who's as quick as he is willing to make that trade-off to give him more options with that shot.
That was long, so 6-9-2.
One of our viewers are asking who's up next. That's going to be Simone Jardim and Corinne Carr versus Irina Terashenko and Christine McGrath. So
that should be a heck of a match. Some heavyweights.
Yeah, some of the absolute very best coming in to play right after this match is complete.
And that return long. So Johns and Yates now hoping to serve for the match, up 9-6.
And for those of just joining us, this is the semifinal match of the men's doubles pro division. The winner of this match goes on to wait for their opponent coming up from the opportunity bracket, the losers bracket.
Is that what we call it, the opportunity bracket?
I do. I call it the opportunity bracket. It's just because you still got an opportunity, right? Even if you've lost a match, you still have an opportunity to win the entire bracket. On the winner's side, they are playing 2 out of 3. Best 2 out of 3 to 11, win by 2. And on the opportunity side, they're playing 1 to 15.
Unforced error there, and so here we go, match point. Around the post, and then finally a winner.
And that is it.
And 11-6 in game 2, so straight sets for Yates and Johns. They move on to the finals here in men's doubles. Take one more look at match point. What'd you see here, guys?
Well, we saw good use of the cross courts and the round the post attempt from Ben Johns, and Tyler Loong coming up with good defense, but they can't quite hold on.
Yates and Johns led pretty much the entire match. Their biggest deficit was a single point in game 2. They move on. We'll hear from them coming up next from Vegas. The Las Vegas Pickleball Open brought to you by the Plaza Hotel and Casino, Miller Lite, and by Highlands. And welcome back to Championship Court here in Las Vegas, joined by Ben Johns and Kyle Yates. And guys, that was pretty impressive. You trailed only by a single point in game 2, really controlled that match from the beginning. I'm guessing you're liking the way things are going so far here in Vegas.
Yeah, they're going great. It's a lot of fun. The matches obviously went really well. We both played well, so I'm really happy.
And the power game to the dink game, back to the power game, we saw it all on one of those points there in game 2. I don't know how many times the ball crossed the net, but it had to be close to 40, 50 times. That was one of the best points I've ever seen.
Yeah, you got to do a lot to put the ball away. You know, the guys, their defense is so good. So you see us in those long dink rallies because if you attack too soon, you get burned. I mean, you saw me, I tried to attack the middle a lot, and Tyler was just slapping it back. So you really have to pick your shots wisely. That's why you see a lot of those long rallies.
How do you decide to switch it up between the power and the dink game? Is it just feel? Is there something you're looking for?
Yeah, I'd say I gauge it mostly on my opponents, how I'm feeling, how my partner's feeling. A lot of the time, if I feel tight, I'll start to play a little more power game just because it kind of loosens me up. And if I'm really feeling the adrenaline, then I'll probably start speeding it up more then, too.
All right, and last thing, Kyle, I got to ask you, we're on the live stream, the comments are popping up, and people are commenting about your beard. So is that the Vegas rally beard, or what is that?
Yeah, well, Brian Ashworth is my idol, so I'm trying to copy him. So someday.
All right, guys, go get a little rest. We'll see you in the championship game a little bit later on.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, Kyle Yates and Ben Johns, they'll be in the championship game in the men's doubles. We'll be back with more action. The women's side coming up next here in Las Vegas.